Hello and welcome to Alpha Militaria TV. Thanks very much for tuning in once again and seeing what we're up to. My name is Richard Saunders. Now in front of me I have the JTS Airacuda Max rifle, PCP rifle, fully regulated, great value for money, 550 quid I think, and performs really, really well. And in actual fact we've done a review on the channel on this rifle. But we're not talking about the rifle, we're talking about the scope. It is the DiscoveryOpt ED-LHT Gen2 3-15x50 SFIR FFP-Z. Now that's a bit of a mouthful, granted, but in the airgun world, it seems like just a handful of brands really dominate the scene. I'm thinking Hawk in particular, and MTC, and also brands like Nico Sterling as well. But there are other brands around, and this DiscoveryOpt brand is one of them. Now, it's not a new name by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just not a scope that you tend to see out and about that often. Now, they have a huge range of scopes, and most, if not all of them, are perfectly usable for airgun use, such as this ED-LHT Gen2 3-15x50 SFIR FFP-Z. Now, I'm just going to call this the Gen2 3-15 from now on. Priced at around 216 quid. It would seem to offer fantastic value for money. It's also a first focal plane scope. And we'll get into the performance and the specifications in just a minute, but just to talk about what you get in addition to the scope in the box. It's the most comprehensive pack of goodies I think I've ever come across. Obviously, you get the scope, you get a really, really good set of Picatinny mounts that have spare screws for them as well, and the torque settings are printed on the side too. They come in a little plastic box, really good mounts. You get a scope leveling tool to make sure that you mount the scope nice and flat, and obviously you can use that on other scopes as well. You get a sunshade for the front, you get a screw-in throw lever as well, a chamois cloth for cleaning the lens. You also get a pen brush or brush pen for cleaning the lens as well. You get a set of flip-up lens covers, and you also get a push-in ocular lens cap as well. So all of that for 216 quid, which seems really, really good value for money. And on top of all of that, it comes with a lifetime warranty. So what about the scope itself then? Well, at 331 millimeters long and around about just over 700 grams, it's actually quite light and compact, obviously not including the mounts. As the name suggests, it has a 50 millimeter objective lens, and that combines with a 30 millimeter tube, which means that the combination of the two is really good and effective at sucking in light, even in low light conditions. Transmitting that through the tube and into your eye means that you can use the scope in low light conditions quite comfortably. Now, eye relief, which is the distance between the end of your eye and the end of the scope, is a fairly standard 3.3 to 3.5 inches, and the magnification range of 3 to 15 times is controlled by this collar up here. However, this is a first focal plane scope, and by that what I mean is that the magnification lens is set behind the reticle. So as you go up and down the magnification range, the actual size of the reticle will get bigger and smaller. Unlike a second focal plane, which has the lenses the other way around, in which the reticle will stay the same size regardless of what magnification you're using. Now, the good thing about a first focal plane scope is that it means that the relationship between the aim point and your target won't change no matter what magnification you use. Everything, including the target, just gets bigger and smaller. On a second focal plane scope, the relationship between the aim point and the target will change according to the magnification that you use. So you'll just have to make sure that you adjust your holdover if you're using different magnification each time. Now, the downside with a first focal plane scope is that the reticle on the Gen2 3-15 is very small. At low magnification, I would say, anything below 5 or even 6 times, the reticle is so small it's not really usable. Now, that's not a criticism of this particular scope. It's the same on all first focal plane scopes. And in reality, I don't think it's really an issue, to be honest, because most people are going to use this scope at 8, 9, 10, or even higher times magnification, where the reticle is nice and big and there's no issues whatsoever. But if you are used to shooting at very low magnification, let's say you're shooting rats in a barn at short distances, then that might be an issue for you. Now, the elevation turret and the windage turret are about the biggest I've ever seen. They're really, really chunky. They're huge. And I quite like that. The resistance, they're not lockable, but the resistance is such that you can make very, very positive clicky adjustments by finger, but it's not so loose that you're going to put this rifle in a gun bag, knock the turret, and knock your gun off zero. That just won't happen. Each movement equates to 0.1 MRAD, and the reticle, which as you will see is a bit of a Christmas tree design, has markings in 0.5 MRAD for both elevation and windage, and the total elevation range is 17 MRAD. Now, the real party piece for the Gen2 3-15 is the zero stop feature on the adjustment turret. Now, if you like to dial in adjustment on your elevation turret for different distances by turning the turret rather than using holdover, then this is a really good scope to use, because the zero stop function means that you can, once you've finished dialing in or whatever, you can return back to a hard stop that corresponds to the zero marking on your turret and takes you right back to where you've zeroed the rifle. Now, undoing the cap on the top of the elevation turret here reveals the zero stop cog underneath, and by loosening a couple of grub screws, you can rotate that zero stop cog to line up with the zero marking on the elevation turret itself. Now, in all honesty, zero stops are fine, but they're not really a feature that I find many air gunners use, unless they're shooting very, very long distances with slugs and super powerful rifles. Most air gunners tend to use holdover, hold under, but some do use the dialing in method, and certainly for them and for centre fire and rim fire shooters, they'll find it really, really, really is a very useful feature. Probably of more use in terms of features to air gunners is the side parallax. Now, DiscoveryOpt indicates that the Gen2 3-15 will parallax down to about 15 yards. In actual fact, I've used it on the range, and I would say it goes a little bit lower than that, in fact, which is really good. Gives you a nice clear picture at very short distances. And then there's the illuminated reticle. Now, I really like the fact that only the center cross for the illuminated reticle lights up. You have 6 different levels of brightness in red, and the good thing about it is that you have an off stage in between each setting. So that means that you can, wherever you're shooting, be it in a hide in the woods, night or day, or evening, morning, you can decide on the level of illumination that you want for that specific situation, and then just make one tiny click to switch it off again. And then when you need to take your shot, you're just one click away from going back to that exact level of predetermined illumination. It means you don't have to scroll all the way through the levels of brightness that you don't want. So I think that's all the key features. What we'll do now is we'll nip down to Reading Air Target Shooting Club, and hopefully I'll be able to show you some scope cam footage. So the trouble with reviewing scopes is that us air gun types like to think we know a thing or two about air guns, but most of us, me included, know very little about cameras. This lack of know-how and specialist equipment means that inevitably our ability to show you real-life quality on film is compromised. My lack of expertise in particular was exacerbated by the fact that the ocular eye bell on the Gen2 3-15 is a whopper. So big, in fact, that I couldn't get my usual GoPro camera on it. I had to resort to a contraption that enables me to attach a mobile phone to the back of the scope. So, as I say, the footage you're seeing here doesn't really do the scope justice at all. I've come down to Reading Air Target Shooting Club. They've got lots of targets down here, and these are between 20 and 30 metres. And I'm only using the Gen 2 3-15 on 5 or 6 times magnification, because that's as high as I can go before the footage becomes distorted. So this is one of those you'll have to trust me moments. The footage makes the colours look very washed out, but in fact the Gen 2 3-15, like most, if not all other Discovery Opt scopes, uses Japanese ED ultra-low dispersion glass. No, I don't know what that means either, but I'm told it reduces chromatic distortion, and I think that means that the colours are very sharp. If so, then I wouldn't disagree. In fact, not only are the colours positively vivid in real life, there's no distortion or washout, even at higher magnification or longer distance, not even around the edges. And because I'm having to use low magnification, the reticle looks quite fine, but it's very easy to see, and with the magnification pumped up a little, I can acquire targets very easily. So there you go. That is the Discovery Opt 3-15 by 50. The name is a lot longer than that, but you know which one I mean by now. Really, really great value for money. 216 quid for a first focal plane scope. And you get all of those extras in the box with it as well. And I just wish that my camera skills and my camera equipment were up to the job of showing you a true representation of the image through the scope. Because you'll just have to take my word for it. It's really, really clear. Colours are really good as well. Anyway, hope you found that useful. If you did, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. And you can find out lots more information on alphamilitaria.com. Thanks for watching.